coffee too deep. I think I'm dying here, man.
Through the haunted mansions and floors, the creep, they lead us to the places from which we dare not peek. A journey through fear and the realm of the night. In every word they speak, our hearts ignite with fright. Welcome to the horror show, the Deep Cut Podcast, where nightmares come alive, ready to take their blow. Tune in to the chilling delight on the airwaves of the night. Let the darkness grow. Let the darkness grow.
Aw, yeah! It's that time again for another bi-weekly podcast with your hosts, Rotten Roger DeMarco and...
Snarls Barkley.
That's right. You may notice Evil Dead Inc. is not in the other chair this week. That's because I sent him down to the fishing hole to procure some dinner. And also, sidebar, Mr. Evil Dead Inc. does not ever dip his toe in the toxic waste-infested waters that are Tromaville. So I brought on the home slice to discuss one of... I don't know, is this a staple for you?
It's pretty big, yeah. So as far as the legacy of it and what it was, obviously we're video store kids.
Yeah.
The poster art, and being a young guy, it hooks you in because it looks like a superhero movie.
And boobies.
So yeah. I saw it probably too early. I convinced my parents to rent it. And,
I think we all did, for sure.
I don't think they knew what we were getting into, but yeah, no, it's been a lifelong flick for me. So. Yeah.
Well, Lloyd Kaufman, I was just telling my son this the other day. Lloyd Kaufman was a mad genius, is still a mad genius because he's still going strong, even though the video store era is, long gone. But he was smart enough, right, to give us these dirt cheap movies. But then he was also like, okay, so that's for the parents. And maybe some teenagers and some younger kids are going to dip their toe into this. But how do I get those kids, too? How about a Toxic Crusaders cartoon, toy line, video game, trading cards? So, like, he really knew how to, get the best bang for his buck, I suppose. And, like...
Oh, for sure.
This being their, like... Their not swan song, because that's the end, right? So their inaugural voyage, right?
Yeah, the maiden voyage for Troma.
Yeah.
Marketing genius. The whole Toxic Crusaders thing, to take this character, and again, we're all intrigued by cover art, poster art. You see this thing at the video store as a kid, and then you can see it on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
So mom and dad might not have liked what was on the screen, but they were cool with the Saturday morning show. So he got his bases covered.
I suppose since I don't have Mr. Evil here, do you want to give the good folks out there in internet land a brief plot synopsis of the movie, and then we'll just jump in?
Let's go. Yeah, so meek, mild, kind of a little wine tit.
Oh, Melvin.
Melvin Junko. Melvin Ferd III is horribly bullied by the assholes at the health club in Tromaville.
Yeah.
And a cruel prank goes awry. He falls into some toxic waste and becomes large and freakishly strong.
Yeah, New Jersey's first superhero, if you will, which I believe became one of their taglines. I thought it was only natural that you and I would cover this because it kind of relates to you and I both in a weird kind of way. I wouldn't say necessarily that we're gym rats, but the gym culture and all of that stuff we're very privy to.
Yes.
And also, both of us didn't obviously start out strong, muscular, strapping men, you know.
I was small. I wrestled up until I was in 9th grade, man. I wrestled like 98 pounds.
Yeah.
So talking 14.
That's literally he's 98 pounds at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. So I was fortunate, Red Oak, we had a karate center, and then downstairs they had the activity center. They had a gym. I was fortunate to have a membership, and not quite the same gym culture as the Tromaville Health Club, but
that's the 80s, baby.
Yeah. And this predates a lot of those, like, what do you want to call it, death spa and things like that, the fitness horror. This is kind of early on, so started a trend.
this definitely is one of, if it isn't the first, it's one of the first, you know, to implement gym whatever equipment as methods of death and things like that. And but also just really like this whole anaerobic leg warmer, like crazy. And also the cool thing that I like about Troma is it never shied away from like super big characters, and like it didn't care if it was offensive and stuff like that. So you have like, you know, a couple of gay guys at the beginning. You got like the overly like steroided people, and big fat people. Like it literally just kind of gives you all of it, and it's all super offensive all across the board.
A cross-dresser just for the sake of it, you know. Cigar Face's crew, he's got a cross-dresser for
that does karate.
No reason, but like, hey, why not? It was inclusive. I don't feel like it was like mocking though.
No.
You know, if you look at the two guys in the gym, you know, you look at Cigar Face's crew, it wasn't offensive. It was like, hey, these people exist. Like, it's probably people that Lloyd saw in his area, you know, like that. Maybe a characterization of them, but yeah, it was early, you know, and horror's always kind of been this all-inclusive thing, more so than way ahead of other genres.
Oh yeah, and that's because you can disguise it with the gore and stuff like that, you know. But even what's his name, the Sandman from Death Warrant, is one of the, like, he robs the taco joint or whatever, Kilpatrick, Kilpatrick. But yeah, like. A lot of people also got their starts with Troma movies, and I don't know where I'm going with that, but he was there. So
no, like I said, Lloyd was very forward thinking. I was surprised the budget for this was like $500,000. Yeah, which to us that's mega budget, right? Like, you know, we've done a lot more compared to then for way less, but still, you know, completely independent, and today still, you know, there's no studio interference. Troma's still an independent, privately held company. I think 49 years.
Yeah, that's a long time to be on that type of grind. And also, but it was the video store stuff really that helped guys like Lloyd and helped like Roger Band or Charles Band. Yeah, Richard Band is the composer. But yeah, and Corman and all of those guys. But because you could see a Puppet Master or you could see a Toxic Avenger right next to whatever Predator, you know, and as a kid, if that cover art got you, I mean, a movie's a movie. If it's in a store on a shelf, it has to be like on equal playing ground, and you just kind of take it at its face value. And so as a kid, I had no idea, and again, saw it way too early, way too young to see this, but like. It's gory and it's captivating, you know. And
it's well done. Clayton was watching it with me. We were kind of going through it. He's pretty stoked to see the new one. Yeah. He doesn't have a lot of memory of the original Toxic Avenger, so he was like, "Man, the choreography is legit. You know, the practical effects are solid. It's very well done on the budget it is, but it really set a tone and allowed other indie people to come about." Night Beast, one of your favorites.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that comes about because Toxic Avenger is successful.
Yeah, all these guys making movies in their backyards and stuff. And also the punk rock culture that is Troma. And I think that's going back to like it being inclusive with Lloyd. Is Lloyd's a very, very smart guy, but he's also like a fuck the system kind of guy, which is, you know, pure punk rock. And he doesn't care. He's still using that car flip footage from, I think, Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Yes, yeah, it's the same car.
And they use that footage because he's like, I had to pay so much money for that stunt. I'm putting that in every movie I do until I die. But also, on the flip side of that, when you have, like, the kid getting his head run over by the car, that's infamous. That's an infamous scene across horror. And if you've ever seen any of the behind-the-scenes stuff or whatever, or read any of his books, he talks about how they needed to do that stunt. They weren't sure how they were going to do it. They fucking painted a watermelon peach with acrylic paint, poked a hole in it, filled it with red Caro corn syrup, put a wig on it, and fucking ran it over with a car. And when you look at it, even on my DVD, I haven't seen it in 4K or Blu-ray 1080p, but my VHS and my DVD of it when I look at that, I see a kid's skull get crushed. I don't see a watermelon.
No, so I just had a refresher this week, and I didn't feel like digging through the crates, so I popped it on streaming. It's upscaled. It still looks real.
Because, they put it on Shudder.
Yep. Same thing with the dog, right? It's
Yeah.
spaghetti. They literally spray painted spaghetti gray for his guts, and it works.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, whatever to sell the effect, right?
right.
I mean, it's 3 seconds of film, so if it can pass, it can pass. You don't have to hire Stan Winston for a gore gag. You know?
That's the thing. Most of that budget. So if you think $500,000 seems like for an indie film, that's a pretty big budget.
Yeah.
But if you look at what all they pulled off, they were still scrimping. They were having to cut corners, get homemade. Like I said, watermelon and spaghetti. They're pulling off two of the bigger gore gags.
Oh yeah.
We'll get into the one-armed man was legitimately a one-armed guy.
So, when he rips the dude's arm up in the taco joint,
the Mexican place. Yeah, that dude. He's an amputee. They had a prop arm, and that dude really has one arm. So
I literally had no idea.
Yeah, because we were just discussing that. Clayton brought that up. He's like, man, for how Indian kind of
grassroots.
It gets its fair share of hate too, right? So
Yeah.
for the way he's like, man, that stunt's really good. So I started reading into it. I'm like, man, how did they pull that off? No, that guy has.
I'll pull that off.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Yeah, he's a legit one-armed guy. They just stuck a prop arm on him and just snapped it right off. So
Oh, that's glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see, and that's how you do it, right? You hire a double amputee or whatever if you're going to need someone to get their legs chopped off or whatever. I mean, obviously back then they couldn't green screen it.
No.
I mean, it'd be the old school Romero, like dig a hole and hide a limb in there, but sometimes you can't do that. So, that's
the one-armed man.
Oh, that's wild. Going back to the way that we're doing things, and a lot of it's called like a Texas switch, right? Where you have someone in frame, and then they cross behind something or duck down, and then another actor pops up. That's literally how we do the transformation. Mm-hmm. They do some really cool bladder work on him.
Yeah. That's what we were discussing as well. When he's in the bathtub and you
melting,
see, he's kind of forming. He's becoming larger.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell how they did it, but it still looks pretty well.
Yeah.
There are a few scenes where you can see that it's sleeves. The seams aren't blended really well.
Yeah.
You probably don't notice it on older formats, but that's one of the things that in the streaming upscale, you're like, man, it's pretty obvious, but it still works.
The cleaner it gets, that's when you start to see all the duct tape and everything holding stuff together. But and then when they do that Texas switch, they do that old school inverted color.
Yep.
So he ducks down out of frame. We invert the color. And that shake is added in post. You know, and then he comes up and it's just one guy ducks down, one guy stands up, and it's effective. For what it is, it's effective, and then you don't question it, and you just go, he's a giant muscle-bound monster now.
One of the things we were discussing, and I was trying to see, I didn't find any articles or any write-ups or anything, but for the longest time, I mean, it's not a terribly long film, so I don't want to say the longest time, but they only show the Toxic Avenger from the rear.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, did they not have the face makeup finalized? Were they waiting on something? Was it intentional? Do they want to have more of a reveal? But they only show him from behind for quite an extended period of time after his transformation.
Oh, yeah. They do a couple of those close-ups because a lot of it is ADR.
Yeah.
Anytime he's talking to the cop or whatever, it's all
so
ADR.
The voice change is pretty drastic as well.
Yeah.
When Melvin becomes the Avenger, he's all of a sudden he's like, "Well, hello, ma'am.
Yeah,
How are you this
yeah.
evening?"
Oh, Julie.
Yeah. He's completely different. His personalities, everything's different.
Yeah. But and Lloyd knew what he was doing with this movie also, because if you look at the time period this came out, all of the horror movies, pretty much all the slashers anyway, pretty much started this exact same way. There's a group of kids, they don't like one kid, there's bullying, there's a prank that's gone awry. One of my favorites, which is a cheesy piece of crap that was filmed in Canada, is Slaughter High.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolute pure cheese, but this is the opening is beat for beat,
Maybe that's the thing. Bullying is the umbrella that is responsible for all horror, basically.
Yeah.
And it goes back to EC Comics days, right? They're all basically revenge and morality tales.
Someone has to get their comeuppance
Yep.
at the end.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
that's the thing. You always have to have a little bit of sympathy for the killer, right? Obviously, as they became big icons, like Toxic Avenger's iconic, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's a weird mix of like action, dark comedy, exploitation, horror. It was always in the horror section, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's where you found Toxic Avenger, but it's a dark superhero story.
Yeah, it's more than horror for
right.
sure.
Yeah, like tonally, and obviously, like we're talking opposite ends of the spectrum here, but tonally, it's more like a dark man, right? Like,
Yeah, oh
where
yeah.
He's got this tragic accident and he's getting vengeance, but he's not really a monster other than an appearance. But
I love the monster hero.
yeah,
And that's what surprises me the most about my co-host, my good buddy, my best friend, Evil, is that no matter how, I mean, I've known Evil for over 10 years now, and no matter how much I harp on him about, like, dude, as soon as he sees the Troma logo, he's like, nah, I'm not watching whatever movie that is. And like, for someone with such punk rock sensibilities, and I'm like, dude, this is tailor-made for us. We were the kids who everything we liked was not cool anymore or was never cool.
right.
And we were picked on, and we were, you know, the weird ones. And like all these movies, like especially Toxic Avenger, it's for us. It's the punk rock superhero.
Right, and
You know?
that's, you know, Lloyd has been successful, and he's so approachable. You know, not that I've encountered Lloyd in a personal setting, but
Yeah.
you know, the convention circuit, documentaries, man. Anybody basically that does an indie horror or a VHS type documentary or something,
Yeah.
you know, low budget, he's always in it. He'll give his little 2 cents. You know, he speaks on that.
Yeah.
And if you look at the people going to conventions, that's who it's for, right? The people that, you know, before conventions they were getting laughed at, and now they're amongst peers and equals.
Yeah.
And he's been ahead of that. I mean, as long as conventions have been a thing, he's probably been going to as many as he can. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, he finds new fans. You know, he connects with old fans and people that are misfits, outcasts.
Yeah, and the thing too is, like, those people that go to conventions, they're the ones that eventually are going to go on, and James Gunn, you know,
Yep.
are going to make your Guardians of the Galaxy, are going to make your In a Violent Nature, are going to make Mandy, whatever movie it is that is this weird off the beaten track indie movie that's going to pop off. Like, they're the ones who grew up renting Troma movies and obsessing with that stuff, and seeing how far you can really stretch a dime.
Well, and that's the thing. So I don't think any of us ever imagined that the guy that made Slither was going to be the head of DC now. You know, like, I love that movie. I didn't see that going the way it did, but that's how that works, right? They find these people that they're the true creatives. You know,
Yeah.
they know how to make things work without overcompensating with excessive budgets or excessive CGI and green screen and all that jazz. You know, they've got the know-how and they've got some artistic merit.
Yeah.
And then when they get the money, they're like, holy shit, look what we did.
Yeah. Sidebar with Slither, because I love that movie. I bring this up all the time, so I'm beating a dead horse, which is a trope in and of itself.
Yeah.
But I can no longer watch Slither because Nathan Fillion is in Slither, and Nathan Fillion is the reason that Adam Green had such a hard time.
Yeah.
So, you know me with Adam Green, but it sucks because, boy, Slither it's a prime example of, like, taking those B movie sensibilities, throwing a bigger budget at it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Slither is a Troma movie.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's Night of the Creeps.
Exactly. So that's the whole thing. You know, it comes from that, and now we're like, we just have better abilities. So Slither, you look at the slug alienoid things, and
Yeah.
you know, that's definitely an homage, I would assume, or influenced by Slither.
Yeah.
I botched that whole deal.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Night of the Creeps.
But yeah, movies like Toxic Avenger walked so that these other guys could run, for sure. And again, like, Lloyd just also, I've never been to New Jersey, so I don't know what the New Jersey, like, culture is like, film culture, music culture, but it feels like Tromaville is New Jersey,
Right.
but it fits with like your Clerks and everything. It just kind of has that like, fuck you, I'll make a movie,
and
no
so
matter
that's,
what.
Again, he made films off the beaten path, right? So all the Hollywood stuff was California.
Yeah.
New York City's known for Broadway, and then here's New Jersey, like, which I think they have that chip on their shoulder to they're New York's little brother. I think Jersey always has that little mentality.
Cross the bridge.
But that works, right? So here he is, he's making films where he wants to make films. He's not buying into studio stuff. He wasn't trying to sell scripts to Hollywood to get shit made. He was like, hey, I'm going to do it right here with what I have. Guerrilla style a lot of times, cast and crew, just whatever.
Well, and I gave you a copy of Poultry Guy.
Yes.
So did you ever watch that documentary
So
that came out?
I watched that way more than the movie.
Yeah, the documentaries are the bomb.
Right. So Poultry Guys, in its own merit, is worth a watch. But like the making of is all the fun, to see what went into that and how they cast for that movie and how they shoot that movie. That's pretty much like the recipe for making a Troma film. And when you see it done, you're like, holy shit, how it's chaos. I mean, it looks like absolute chaos. They were like, hey, we got to shoot until 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, they're kicking us out. We got to hurry up and get 2 more scenes.
Yep. And also the very, very punk rock vibe of a Troma film set is like, let's just put our feelers out there. Who, hiring people who've never done anything, you can be my script supervisor, which kind of backfires in the documentary because they have some people who don't know how to handle scripts. But like, you've never done effects before. Well, can you paint latex? Yeah. Can you make nurnies or whatever, like stringy gore bits? Whatever. Can you act? No. You want to stand in the background? Sure. Like,
well, that's just, that documentary starts off with a whole bunch of people meeting in, like, I think a church basement of all places.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable being nude? And they just start taking off clothes. I'm like, what am I watching?
It's like Brutal Massacre.
Yeah.
No, on set, honey, on set.
Yeah. So it's definitely the way things get done, and it's different. They buck the system a little bit, and like I said, 49 years into it, I think is where they're at. So it's worked.
Yeah, it's the grind. The only thing that I wish for Lloyd is I wish that video stores were still a thing.
Yeah.
Because streaming, it's pretty easy to just bypass. It's
weird that they have a streaming service.
Yeah.
Knowing that video stores and physical media is where Troma really excelled and was financially stable enough to exist for 50 years.
Right.
Now they've got Troma now. They've kind of bought into that. But at the same time, like their iconic releases, they're streaming on other people's platforms.
Yeah.
Whether it be Shudder, Amazon. I mean, there's endless lists of streaming services that have Troma
the
properties.
licensing.
Yeah. I'm like, man, it's hard to compete.
Yeah, they even have like their own. They have their own YouTube that has full movies too.
I think that actually got shut down.
Oh, okay. Probably because of the nudity and all this.
Community standard violations.
Yeah.
So they did put everything on YouTube, and then YouTube was like, no, we can't have that. So and
that's
probably
that's how behind I am because I'm like.
So that's probably where Troma now originated, right? Like,
okay.
They wanted it out for streaming. They tried one method, and YouTube was like, look,
Well, and they got it because years back at Crypticon, Charles Band was there. And that's when they had launched Full Moon streaming.
Yeah, they had their own service as well.
And so when I met him, I bought a couple movies off of him, and he's like, anybody who signs up for our streaming service, we ring this bell, we make a big deal out of it. We have like the Full Moon girls come over and take a picture with you, but then like we'll give you 5 more DVDs or Blu-rays of your choice. So if you sign up right here in front of me, like you subscribe, I'll do it. And I was like, okay. So I went and found my wife. I'm like, can I subscribe to this? She's like, I don't care. Yeah. It was like $9 a month. So I subscribed, and they gave me a bunch of stuff, and I used it, but it was when like Roku first became a thing in our house. So I was like late to the Roku game. I was like, I don't really understand this. It's just a little box that has like my Netflix and my whatever. I'm like, I have Netflix on my Blu-ray player upstairs or whatever. So
yeah, the whole, like I said, Full Moon's another one. They were like, their movies are on other streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Now horror's really taken off. Years ago it was a DirecTV channel. The B movie chillers and B movies and all these like other streaming. Well, now they'd be streaming, but cable services. And then
I miss Chiller. We
get Shudder and then Screambox. And it's all about licensing and who you can get to pony up, right? Screambox really launched with Terrifier 2. They're like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
we're the exclusive streaming service of Terrifier 2. Then everybody goes to Screambox, and everybody's got their own little piece of the pie. But as far as licensing goes, all these like studio-based, so like your Full Moon, your Troma, I don't know the purpose when they're licensing to everybody else. What makes you stand out when I'm already paying for a service
that has like 75% of your library. Yeah. And that's the trick, right? So, you know how I am with streaming. I was literally just talking to Evil about when we're going to put Return of Jacob Cobb on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Probably by the time this comes out, it'll probably be there. But the plan is to kind of do a Last Drive-In style, introduction, commercial breaks type of deal, and put it on the channel. But, I mean, within 2 days of it hitting Blu-ray, it was up on Pirate Bays and things of that nature. And
that's the risky thing about, the avenues that you have to go through to get the TapeHead films, the service that we use. It's not like there's no studio, there's no financial backing.
So anyone can just
so the people in that facility, the people that work for these places, there's no policing them.
No.
This is what we can do, and it allows, one, you actually can make some money. The cost is low. To get it produced, labels printed, cased, shipped, all that. You can make a decent profit on that. Your margin's not bad, but the risk is that piece that's missing. Same thing with going to like a streaming platform. You got to go through an aggregate who, basically the middleman. You have to trust this agency or this person or this company with your intellectual property to get it in the format that XYZ, whether it's your Tubies or, Freevee or whoever, we're not talking Amazon Prime's not going to pick us up, right? But the ones that do indie stuff, you got to hope that that guy in the middle isn't just fucking you over and taking this, and then he's selling 50 copies out of his trunk or something. He's going to a convention, he's selling with the poster art we saw. Anthony's poster art.
It took him 6 months to make. Some asshole puts it up.
Yeah, if you Googled TapeHead Return of Jacob Cobb, there's people selling 24 by 36 posters. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, fucking redbubble.com or some bullshit. And I mean, that was the risk even back with video stores, and that's the film industry was like against home video because they knew that eventually it was going to lead to piracy, and there's really no way to stop that, right? Even if you are just screening it in theaters and you have your print, there are people who steal prints. That was a thing.
Oh yeah.
And so there's really no way around it. And
it exists, and there's not a way to police it. But there are higher risks in the indie world because you have to. Usually, the people that can do the things that need to be done to distribute, they don't work for you. You're trusting them to work with you to get this thing to the masses.
Yep.
But once it leaves your hands or your file or whatever the case may be, there's no guarantee that this is going to end up where it's supposed to end up. Yeah.
And also with scalper type people, which is actually actively happening with that Terrifier 2 VHS that's getting put at Walmarts.
Yeah.
That's also a potential risk. Like when we put out our first TapeHead movie, there were people who shall remain nameless who were going around and buying copies of our movie for $8 and then putting them on eBay for like 40, saying
extremely rare, out of print. You could go order one, from the link
for $7 or $8 and help us out. But people were buying these off of eBay, and I mean that happens everywhere, and it's happening to the Bloody Disgusting people who are doing the Terrifier 2 VHS. People are buying them and then already putting them up on like Zavvi for like $70.
So I was talking to VHS Mikey the other day about Walmart. Walmart is always like the evil entity, right? They're this big corporate monster.
2 copies of Time Cap.
They're the only big vendor that's still pushing physical media.
Yeah.
Target's bowed out. Best Buy is done.
Oh, they're done.
The physical Target carries vinyl, VHS now. They've got always cool slipcovers. Like
Yeah.
they always
when they
have
got the
that
steel
little
books,
end
they
cap.
got like exclusive steel books
Yeah,
now.
exclusive steel books. They are championing physical media, but I'm like, I'm supposed to hate Walmart, like,
Right. Right.
But they're keeping it going, right? Dude, the
They're all we
$5
have.
bin
They're
at
all we
Walmart,
have.
That's my favorite thing in the world. I love going to the $5 bin,
Yep.
digging through there. I always find something,
Speaking
and it's
of
usually stuff that like, well, I've got this has new cover art. I'm gonna buy it just to have it. You know?
Yeah.
That's how I end up with like 10 different versions of all the Friday the 13th movies.
Same. Yeah, I mean that's unavoidable until eventually we just have to cut the cord and be like, I get it. I how many times I watched Corey Feldman,
Right.
watch that girl
20
get,
versions of Jason Lives. Probably
Yeah.
not.
but we will
Yeah.
eventually. We got like super sidetracked, and that's totally cool because that's
Yeah.
what happens. But
It all ties back to the video store culture. I mean,
Yeah.
that all originates from, that being the big piece of Troma,
Yeah.
what put them where they're at.
yeah, so we'll circle back to Troma. I'm kind of lost in the sauce of where we were in the movie, but let's just pick up with he turns into the Toxic Avenger, and now his mother wants nothing to do with him, so sends him out on his own, and then like immediately we go into full swing of like, you're bad, you're dead, you're bad, you're dead, and we just kind of work our way through what, like the mayor's office, I guess, like everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
So you go through and he's this hero, but instead of using that for the city's advantage and press, the mayor's mad because it's going to come back around.
yeah, because he's crooked as shit.
He's crooked. The cops are crooked. Everybody's dirty. They're on the take. He's a creep. Kudos to that guy for having like the confidence to be topless most of this movie. Getting rubbed down
in the gym.
He gets more massages at the gym than like anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, this is before. What's the other guy who he was like the Don Vito of Troma, like Andy Flyshaker or whatever. So
and so he has a cameo in this one, but he's not like the guy yet. You know, he's just in it because Lloyd knows him probably.
Yeah. So and that's Lloyd always has like super heavy people and like most of the time doesn't even call attention to them being heavy, which I love. So like you said, this dude is like shirtless and he's just getting rubbed down and like he's also
dancers behind him all the time.
Yeah, and he's like a dirty Harry type dude. He's got a fucking like badass revolver. He's a crooked, shisty bastard. And making deals, pouring toxic waste into the reservoir. It's like,
that's the whole reason that this thing exists, right? Like, without the toxic waste.
Yeah, and that also, like, the swan dive into the toxic waste is excellent. He's faking, Julie. He is faking.
So, he's on fire. Like, literally, if you touch him, your hands catch on fire. He's faking.
Yeah,
but
he is stressing me, Julie.
So, I was going to, before we started getting too far into his transformation, post-transformation, Toxic Event, Melvin's fine.
Yeah.
Dude, mop-pushing, nerdy Melvin is one of the least likable characters. Normally, when a character gets bullied, you're like, man, that's fucked up. Like, you sympathize. I would have thrown his ass in the pool. Like, his whole, like, whiny shit that he does. Like,
and he's, like, watching those two have sex in the locker room.
He's a creep. He's obnoxious. Like, Melvin sucks. Like, it's unfortunate, and I get what they were trying to do, but, like, there's other than the Toxic Avenger and Sarah, like, there's not likable characters in this movie, right?
Melvin sucks, Toxie rules.
Yeah, that's it. Post transformation, he's cool, but before that, like, that dude's awful.
Yeah, he deserves, which sucks to say, like, he deserves everything he gets. So, circling back a few weeks back, Evil and I covered Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. And that's the polar opposite, right? You're like, everything bad that happens to Larry Drake, you're like, man, he's so, like, pure as the driven snow. Melvin, on the other hand, it's like, throw him out the window.
He's terrible. And, like, so you got Slug and Bozo, Julie and Wanda are awful. Like, literally taking Polaroids of the people that they run down in their cars, and they just have all that evidence on them. Nothing ever happens.
Also, just Slug and Bozo are the most creative bully names.
Yeah, those are the leads. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're doing, 400 sit-ups?
Yeah.
Like toe-to-toe sit-ups together while sharing a joint or a cigarette.
As they get counted down. But then they
400 sit-ups, my ass.
They get mad. Melvin gets the fucking mop water in the hot tub, and they're going to prank him, and it goes too far. But, He's a horribly. And how they get everybody in on that?
Yeah.
So they get
everyone's
sheep.
quiet as shit.
Yeah,
and
they
then
get a sheep, and like they execute like the best surprise birthday party ever, but instead it's like he kisses a sheep.
yeah, it's like a
And then
terror
they chase
train.
him.
Yeah.
They chase him out the window. The
Except-
whole building.
Terror Train had a cadaver.
Yeah.
The guy's like gonna get lucky with the cadaver. Melvin's gonna bone a sheep that's got lipstick on, which is embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, they literally like chase him, and so his only escape is to swan dive out a window. Like that's also prom night shit right there. Like the killers are coming. The killers.
Yeah. They're gonna just. That's what's gonna happen. He's gonna try to end it all, but instead he lives and.
Yeah, becomes a super swole superhero of New Jersey, and just smashes everybody. Which all the people he kills too. You expect him to go after like Bozo and Julie
Slug
and
all them. Yeah.
them. You expect that, but the departure to like Cigar Face's gang, which I mean they're bad, so they deserve it. But like,
Well,
he's just like
he's killing pimps and.
he's just going through and killing everybody bad. Whereas a traditional horror movie would just stick with these guys did him wrong.
Right.
They're the ones that get the comeuppance. But he goes full superhero. Like I'm cleaning up the town, the whole town.
He's a whole vigilante.
Yeah.
And everybody, they like embrace it, you know?
Yeah.
He walks around, kids are like, oh, hey, man. You know, high fives and thumbs up. And nobody seems overly startled by the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah. No doctors are coming up like trying to help him.
No. No, like, hey, well, let's see what happened. No. You're good.
Also, it happens, I think, well, maybe not in the actual canon of the Toxic Avenger films, but I know it happens in Terror Firmer when they're making a mock Toxic Avenger. Like, I know Toxie has sex with his girlfriend in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Sarah.
In Terror Firmer, when that happens, like, his
Is it
juice,
appendage?
his juice is toxic.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
As well. So I always kind of wondered about that. And now, like, that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, but isn't, like, because it's all lumpy and toxic-y. Like, wouldn't that kill her? I don't know, because, like, acid, because every time he
Well, I was thinking, if,
bleeds or spits, it's like alien blood,
Yep.
essentially.
yeah, I don't know how that happened.
You have, like, a super strong uterus. Blind
Yeah.
people have.
She lost one sense and gained an extra something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She grew an arm out of her back after getting that, extra protein dose. I don't know.
Something from the Toxie. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you got to have him have a love interest. So,
Yeah. Yep.
You know.
And of course, she has to be blind. I mean, it all
Yeah.
works.
What big muscles you have.
Yeah. Oh. When she reaches out to handshake, and that's not
Oh,
his
yeah.
hand.
Yep. Yeah, doing the palm reading.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing with Troma is it doesn't, again, like, it doesn't care if it offends you, but, like, it will, on the drop of a dime, become, like, the most gratuitous movie you've ever seen. Like, you'll go 20, 30 minutes with no nudity, and then all of a sudden you'll be, like, looking over your shoulders, like, is this, like, an adult film out of nowhere?
Well, like, you know, when Julie or Wanda, she's in the sauna, you know, and she got the
Get a
picture.
real hot ass.
Yeah. Yeah. She's in there with the picture, getting it done, and it's just random, just instantly.
Oh, yeah. Out of nowhere, like, let's just have a 5-minute sequence of this.
Well, the whole at the Mexican place, you know, that whole thing instantly just goes like over the top.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets, you know, there's some attempted taking what's not yours. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
We don't want to get shut down for saying bad words, but
Have you?
Yeah.
So have you seen the other Toxic Avenger films?
I have. Yes.
So like 4, Citizen Toxie,
yes.
with like the school at the beginning, like
Yeah.
that whole thing. Woo. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it's a lot, you know, and I said that they get progressively worse. you
Oh,
know. The first one still is that's the tent pole for the whole.
Michael Jai White's like the bad guy in 2 or 3. I can't
3,
even.
I think.
Yeah, I
I
can
think
never
it's 3.
remember until I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because two's in Japan, and 3 is the one I think has Michael Jai White. But
Yeah, with I don't know. Like, I tend to watch 1, the cartoon, and 4, because I feel like even Lloyd has said, like, he made those other ones just because, you know, he had that property and he was like, we can make some money off some sequels.
well,
And
so, you know, that funds other things. You know,
it's
in-
their tent pole. You know?
right when you're in that indie world and you have an intellectual property that is your thing, right? Like, New Line is the house that Freddie built.
Right.
So you can make a lot of money, easy money, on those properties, and then you can do different things, right? Like Freddie's why we have TMNT, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
You take these monies that you make on the properties, and it's not really selling out because it's your money.
Yeah.
But you're like, man, look, we need a cash. It's the equivalent of like bands that retire every year. We're going to go on a farewell tour.
Yeah.
Because they need the money, right?
Or like Lionsgate not doing well, so they're like, pump
Yeah.
out another Saw.
Yeah.
And another Saw. And
Yeah.
another Saw.
Yeah.
Like until there's diminishing returns, and then they leave it alone for 8 years, and then they're like,
Yep.
now introducing
reboot
Chris
it.
Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to reboot this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. We're rebooting. And I'm not necessarily excited for it, but I will watch it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like you're raping my childhood or whatever, but like
No, but that subject though is something that we've kind of discussed on different things before, obviously like off camera and whatnot. But
Yeah.
So you take these things that we got more or less ridiculed, or like, hey, that's a stupid movie. Why you like all that shit? Whatever.
Yeah.
But then the people that are hyping it, and I don't want to stereotype a group of people because that's not who we are. But so Peter Dinklage is a big name.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is massive, right? And while he's done a lot of other different things,
Like
Game
Knights
of
of
Thrones,
Badassdom and stuff with Joe. Yeah.
Dinklage he's been around a long time. He's a big name, but his name carries weight. Game of Thrones was huge.
Yeah.
And so you've got that fan base that, for one, they didn't ever get picked on for liking Game of Thrones, but hey, whatever.
Everybody likes Game of Thrones.
Everybody
dude.
likes Game of Thrones. So you got people that are like excited, and I'm hearing people talk about this Toxic Avenger reboot.
that you wouldn't have.
And I don't
Otherwise.
think they've seen the original because the way they talk about it, I'm like, I don't think you know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, the band T-shirt, name 3 band songs guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but like the people that are telling me they're excited about the Toxic Avenger remake and the way they talk about Toxie, I'm like, I don't think that's what you think it is.
Yeah. I don't know if you. And again, yeah, it's not. Don't want to gatekeep or anything, but
Right.
like,
It's a fine line.
and having grown up with it, you do kind of feel like you own a little bit of stock in it. You know
Right.
what I mean? And that's like as far as it goes. You can't hate on someone for discovering something new, because everybody
Right.
finds a new movie. Like we'll catch a movie we've never even heard of from the 30s or 40s or 50s and then become a fan.
Yep.
So it's no different, because it'd be like my grandma being like, oh, you didn't grow up watching The Blob. You
Right.
know what I mean? Or whatever.
And there's always that in all entertainment, right? So music's the same thing, but I do it in reverse. If an artist or a producer or a director drops, music or a film that I like, I start
Yeah.
digging into the catalog, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's see where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, go back to
The humble beginnings. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
How many people saw Guardians are like, man, what else has James Gunn done? I don't know that they're going back to Slither, perhaps, but
Right.
with this, I don't know that a lot of people are going to watch this new one, and I'm not even sure when it's coming out. It went to festivals, and then it's
Then we stopped. We stopped hearing about it.
Yeah. But I don't know that they're going to go back, and they're not going to become Troma fans because they like this Hollywood produced version of this property.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, man. I was gonna say something about a movie that had a remake or whatever, but totally lost my train of thought. But it is past the 40-minute mark, so that means we're going to move on to our next segment, which is our Brown Panty Award.
Oh, baby, it's time to slip into something a little more comfortable. It's time for the Brown Panty Award.
And since you're the guest, I suppose, Mr. Snarls, I'll let you give out your Brown Panty Award first. I got a feeling we may have the same Brown Panty Award because everybody who dies pretty much deserves it.
That's the thing. That one, when I was thinking about, I had to get outside the box.
Okay.
Julie and Wanda don't actually die. They're just hurt.
Yeah.
So, and they would have deserved a horrible fate, right?
Yeah.
So they're off the hook there. Everybody else, they're extreme characterizations of shit people, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you look, of all the stuff in the movie that was widely criticized.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep. The one thing, the seeing eye dog. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, same.
That's it.
Same with me. That's who you have to give it to.
Yep.
Because, for one, 9 times out of 10, that's a cardinal sin when you kill an animal. There are exceptions where you can do it and it not break your heart enough. You know what I mean? Sometimes it
Right.
can be done and it's funny. Case in point, before you got here, I was just chilling. I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw on Chud 2, Bud the Chud. The poodle gets chomped on and then becomes a zombie poodle, and then they kill it or whatever. And then it's back again at the end. Like, the poodle dies, and becomes bad. Or like Church in Pet Cemetery or whatever. Or even Gordon in Friday the 13th Part 4. That happens. But it's like a head scratcher moment where you're like, did Jason kill it? Did it kill itself? Is it dead? Is it coming back? So you can deal with it. This, on the other hand, they just mean-spirited shotgun this dog.
Right.
And, it just slides across the floor.
So that's the thing. The way they set this movie up, Toxie comes in before any innocent people die.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this dog. Like, the dog dies. And then, and I get it's a plot device because then Sarah needs him. But, yeah, the dog didn't deserve that.
Yeah, no. And yeah, anytime you kill a dog and there is that level of gore or whatever, of course you're gonna get the old probably shouldn't have done that. And even critics were like, hey man, you can deep fry someone's hands, you can do whatever you want, you can mop someone's face into a puddle, but you shoot a dog, we're gonna pull you from the shelves.
So, it's pretty cool that dog was like a very skilled stunt dog. So it literally would slide. It runs and slides on its side, like to get that shot. Like it
did that on its own.
Yeah.
Nice.
It can slide. So that's its skill.
And that's how it got the job.
Yeah.
There you go.
You like spaghetti? Bam.
Yeah, motherfucker. Wait, and then when we say stay, stay, and then when we call cut, you can eat the spaghetti.
Yeah. With gray spray paint. And hope you don't die.
Is there lead in the spray paint? It was the 80s.
Yeah, probably so.
Well, I suppose then we can move on to the next segment, which will be our perfect execution. So now it's the flip side of the coin, where you give an award to your favorite death. So not a death that hurt your feelings, a death that you feel like they deserved it. Fuck those people.
You're gonna die, clown!
Perfect.
Pretty much everybody would qualify for that award here, but my favorite is the milkshake.
Oh, yeah.
When he gets all foamed and they put the milkshake blender. I like the milkshake kill. It's inventive. It's fun.
It's super over
I haven't
the top
seen it
too,
before or since. It's just like he's getting real creative with it, right?
Yeah,
Like
the
he goes from
banana.
he goes from like vigilante to like, wait a minute, let's make this fun.
Yeah,
So he's
yeah.
like enjoying killing these guys. So yeah, for me it's the milkshake kill.
Oh, the overdub, like,
Yeah, he's just living his best life, making a milkshake in this dude's face.
Yeah, a little chocolate syrup down the throat. Yeah, that's a good one. I can't fault you for that
No,
one.
I love that one.
Well, mine goes back to the gym stuff with all the craziness in the gym,
Yep.
and probably the most aggressive gore gag in the movie. I mean, there's a bunch of weird ones, but it's gonna be the leg curl head smash.
Yeah.
That's like the only like big prosthetic or dummy that's built in this movie, and boy, that's
And I like that. You see it coming a mile away, right?
Oh, yeah.
As soon as it comes up, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you just wait for it, and it happens. And then it's still better than what you expect, because is it going to be off screen? Is it going to be like, a quick blow through the dome?
Yeah.
No, they set it up, and they deliver. And
it's
it's
like
pretty
half
sweet.
the head and like the tongue's
Yep.
waggling, like and
That's probably one of their more complex gore gags,
yeah,
really.
it's very like what do I want to say? Texas Chainsaw 2, like with the top of the
Yep.
head, like that whole deal. But it reminds me of something that is terrible. And when I was younger, I used to think it was real. And I actually was talking to Evil's wife, What's Up Pam, about it, because she's a big Faces of Death fan.
Oh, yep.
The Faces of Death with the magician, the
Yep.
one where the magician's like, I'm supposed to get out of this before this like weight with all these knives smashes my head. When I was a kid, and that was on like the 6th generation VHS dub of a dub, I believed that magician got his skull smashed. When you watch it on DVD, it's like the head like separates from the body, like you can tell it's like a styrofoam head, and that tricked me to thinking it was real when I was younger, and it's such a shitty effect. And then on the flip side of the coin, you have Toxic Avenger, where it's like completely over the top. I don't buy that it's real, but like it's fun to look at.
Oh, it's a good gag. It works.
The whole half head, and I love that the mustache. That dude with his stupid mustache. It's so good. Yeah. So I had to give that.
That's a good one. Like I said, there's a lot of good ones in here. There's a lot to pick from, but for sure.
Well, and what's a bummer too is like a guy like that will get a kill like that, and then you've got I forget which one it is, whether it's Bozo or whatever, with the car. Yeah. When he's like in the car, and he's like, I'm just gonna take the steering wheel off, and you and I are gonna crash the car and blow up. Like the car blowing up is cool.
Yep.
But like you want to see that guy get hurt.
Well, that's the deal. They took, again, Slug and Bozo both are historic. Every good horror movie has the one that you like.
You're waiting for.
Yes, and they usually get the best kill, right? So look at Trent in the Friday remake. Right?
We just brought that up a while back.
Yeah, so he's a piece of shit. You want him to get it, and he does. Yeah. Right? And this time,
so you cheer like yes.
So Slug and Bozo, you get he dies. But you don't get what you want. And the other one he's out.
Yeah. If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, they didn't deliver on those for sure.
No, and they were the worst.
Yeah.
Right. The same thing with Julie and Wanda, they get head shaved or hair cut off and then butt burned. Like that'll teach you to bully old Melvin Ferd. Yeah.
Although sauna rocks to the lower extremities. Probably not.
No,
awesome.
I'm sure that's awful.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't no Jason Takes Manhattan.
No,
sauna
so that's
rock,
the thing. Like that was fatal, right? Like
that's a game over.
That's a little more well done, but
yeah. And I'm glad they went with that kill sidebar in Jason Takes Manhattan because the original cut, that dude just gets darts in his eyes.
Yeah, that's lame.
So that's whack. The sauna rock through the chest is literal fire.
Yep.
So. Well, I suppose we'll keep on trucking and move on to the next segment. And normally it would be Amazon 1-star reviews. But since Evil isn't here, we're going to go dip our toe back into a segment we used to do on the live stream, which is one of my favorite segments. So having you on here, it felt appropriate, especially since this is a video store staple. So the next segment is called The Tie-In.
Time for the tie-in. So many movies, so little time. You better pick yours before I pick mine. So watch a double feature. All monsters and creatures. It's a double feature. Oh, death, death, death.
So with the tie-in, what we do is we pick a movie. Say we're at the video store and we've decided that Toxic Avenger is what we're renting. We've got to take this home. We've got to see what this is all about. We get up to the counter and the clerk says, "Whoa, if you're going to watch this, you got to check this out." So this is just a recommendation on what you think is a good pairing for, if you're going to have yourself a cinema evening, what you're doing, and how you're going to start your evening, how you're going to end your evening. So, Just two movies, the old double feature.
So I put a lot of thought into this, as I always do. The couple guest spots I did on the old 3B live streams. I put a lot of thought and a lot of effort. And there's a lot of different ways you can go.
Yeah.
I take this one very seriously. I told you this morning I was really I had a few and I was really struggling to narrow it down.
It's always hard.
I'm picking two.
Okay,
I'm gonna cheat
you're
a little bit.
You're gonna have a full night.
Yes, and time-wise, we can pack them all in. So we discussed a little bit earlier, Poltergeist.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sticking with Troma, and again, I watched the documentary a lot. But whatever you choose to do with that copy of Poltergeist, that's the one. You can watch Poltergeist. Stick with the Troma thing. Another one I really kept circling back around, and this isn't, I promise, not shameless self-promotion. One of the reviews for the first TapeHead was like, I always wondered what it would be like if you put Troma and Clerks in a blender. Toxic Avenger and Clerks in a blender. I'm going to throw on TapeHead at the end. Just that low-budget hustle. Like I said, not a shameless self-promotion. It just fits, right? So
it does.
You watch a movie like Toxic Avenger, you think about Troma, you think about who influenced you, right? Don Doler, Night Beast comes from that. So, yeah, I'm throwing TapeHead in at the end. It's short. It's
I like
48
that.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's-
I'm doing a threesome.
I'm gonna allow that. That's not bad. And circling back to Don Doler, that's what I was gonna bring up earlier because we were talking about where people got their humble beginnings.
Right.
Super cool. And you may know this, but do you know who did the music for Night Beast?
I don't offhand.
A young man who used to bother Don Doler and hang around all the time, named J.J. Abrams.
Really?
Yeah, and he goes by his full name, I believe, in the credits. But yeah, he was just a young kid with like a synthesizer, and Don Doler was like, "Yeah, if you want to do the music, go for it." So and now you fast forward to now.
Yeah.
Fucking J.J. Abrams is a name.
Yeah, he's huge. Working with Spielberg,
Yep.
Whether he's been directing, producing, he's landmark films,
Yeah. Absolutely. So for my tie-in, I kind of, I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder. I'm staying in Tromaville because it's hard to leave Tromaville once you cross those city limits. Because once, once those are the types of movies that you're in for, it's hard to go back to traditional cinema. Like, if I'm going to do a double feature, it has to be a Troma movie. And when I was growing up, there was a handful of Troma movies that were like my bread and butter. Also, movies that I saw way too early, had no business seeing. But every time I think of Toxic Avenger, I can't help but think of the Class of Nukem High. So I'm going to start my day with Toxic Avenger and end my night with the Class of Nukem High. Just another it centralizes around toxic waste. We have a window gag where a dude's all toxiced out and jumps out a window again. So we're keeping with that Troma, like the bread and butter.
Yep.
And all the, green blood shooting out of people's ears and weird things like that. And crazy transformations and big monsters and punk rock music and boobs. Lots of boobs. So, and a weird giant boner. The guy gets like a 6-foot boner. It's always used to weird me out when I was a kid. I was like 9 years old watching this. Like, I don't know if it's ever going to get that big, but
no, that's the whole thing with all that Troma stuff. You're like, man, this day and age with streaming, like that stuff's more accessible now to kids, right?
Yeah.
It's hard as a parent to like really be careful and kind of police what your kids watch because it's just so accessible.
Yeah.
Then it was like, hey, look, and the cover art didn't really oversell it, and there was no IMDb to give you the parental warnings, or it was like you just had to fuck around and find out.
And sidebar to that, the other day when I was like, well, I got to rewatch Toxic Avenger, get it fresh in my mind because I knew we were gonna go in depth and talk about it. I brought it up to my wife. I was like, so should I let Tyson watch that? And she's like, nah, not yet.
Yeah.
And and I'm like, okay, so I didn't. And then like I sent him upstairs and I was watching it the other night and I was like, damn, it's a really good thing I didn't let him watch this because, like I said, out of nowhere, you're having like a fun revenge movie or you're having your superhero movie, and then out of nowhere, sauna masturbation scene, and you're like, whoa, okay.
But see, and I was like you, though, I didn't remember those things from the movie. Like, I knew they were there, right? It's Troma. It's not like you're like, all of a sudden they're making family films. You don't get lost in it. But, I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, this is...
Like right in the middle of the day, kids running around.
Like, I forgot about this part.
And this part. And this part.
Oh, my God. Oh, yep. Are they done?
Fast forward real quick.
Yeah, I start, like, looking around.
Mute the TV.
Yeah. Trying to see what's going on, make sure nobody's coming in behind me. I'm like... looking around for my kid.
Got family visiting from out of town. Yeah. Just decided to throw it on. Yeah. It's definitely it's a polarizing movie, and it's a movie that encapsulates like a whole vibe and a whole era of cinema. And I know like a lot of times we say like, well, that couldn't get done today, and that's bullshit because people are always like, they won't let you do that now. Like, who's they? And why do you care? Because Lloyd Kaufman doesn't care. There is no they.
And see, we've come to this point now within the last several years where they want you. So now studio involvement comes in, and they're like, we want to see that. We want you to put here's everybody right now that's put out a horror film in the last couple years. If they can't say that somebody puked in the theater or walked out, then they're like, no, I don't think that's what we want. That's their whole gimmick is, and if you go back to a lot of the marketing for The Exorcist was people traumatized.
People passing out.
Yeah, passing out, walking out. That was the thing that really propelled that to success. Mm-hmm. And then you've got, the Terrifiers. In A Violent Nature, we're just discussing, supposedly one of the most brutal on-screen deaths that...
I'm finding out tonight, damn it.
Yeah, so all these... And they're essentially indie films, but they're getting theatrical release, right? Mm-hmm. Toxic Avenger was like a midnight show at niche markets.
Oh, yeah, like 42nd Street or some shit.
Yeah, Bleecker Street theaters or something like that, at midnight.
Playing opposite, like it was a double feature with a porno. You know?
You're right. So you got like these exploitation and like splatter, grindhouse kind of stuff that, it was in theaters, but it really, again, keep coming back to the video store culture. Yeah. That's where it lived, right? Select markets wasn't a thing. You weren't seeing trailers for it.
No.
It wasn't anything that you didn't know people talking about it, right? The people that, you and me and people that we knew were like the few people that would even know what it was. Yeah. It wasn't marketed across the country. You weren't seeing it in the newspapers or, we didn't get fucking Variety magazine.
No. It was always like it literally had to be the weird guy at the video store, or like you have some cousin who's into some like, and this isn't shade. I'm not throwing shade. This is meant to be endearing. This is a compliment. I have a cousin named Brian, and when I was growing up, he was and he still is kind of an odd duck. He's an odd fella. He's gonna. He plays like D&D and like reads comic books.
I know him. Yeah, he's a big Ren Fair guy.
Yeah, and really into
he's got all these really unique, eclectic interests.
Yeah, and really into like, who wasn't like heavy metal. Which was comic books. It was trading cards. And then they made the 2 movies. Yeah. But like, you got like Viking chicks that are like butthole naked, wielding swords, fighting zombies and stuff like just really weird stuff. And so he was the one who'd be like, dude, Toxic Avenger. And I can remember my cousin, Eric, which was his younger brother. I can remember us being like 9 years old and watching Toxic Avenger. And then him being like, well, if you like the movie, they have a cartoon.
Yeah.
And like, so showing the movie to us before the cartoon and then getting us in on the cartoon. And then of course we had all the toys and things like that. But like, that's how it was. So you had to have some quirky motherfucker who didn't care about boundaries to be like, dude, watch this weird thing.
I was the opposite. I had older cousins that were raised pretty strict. Church was important.
You were the bad influence on them.
So they were older than me, and they weren't allowed to watch rated R movies. And my mom and my dad were pretty laid back. We were
how my grandma
adopters.
is about rated R movies.
Yeah. My parents were early adopters of technology. We had video disc, and then we upgraded to VHS really early. And so we were always at the video store renting movies. And again, the R rating didn't scare my parents too much. And obviously, the back of the box doesn't have what it does now. Rated R for nudity, explicit this.
Yeah.
It didn't do all that then. It was just rated R, PG-13.
Here's like 3 pictures, a synopsis, and then rated R. Yeah.
And basically, the synopsis was, 98-pound fitness club janitor Melvin is bullied and becomes a Toxic Avenger. And there he is on the cover. And my mom's like, okay.
It looks like a cartoon. Like, if you look at the cover to Toxic Avenger, there's nothing that suggests, like, you're going to see about 42 titties. Like,
it looks like a comic book. I mean, the cover looks like a cartoon or a comic book. He's got the flag behind him, so it's like, this is America.
Yeah.
He's got a mop and the American flag waving. This is the American hero.
Yeah, and then even the sequel is like him on like a pile of trash with like a bikini lady on his leg holding the mop. They all look like that. They all have like that. But again, it's that like hand-painted, beautiful, but it tricks you because you're like, is this like Sword and Sorcerer? Is this like Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, where does this fall? And you don't know until you take it home and rent it. And, it caught a lot of parents off guard. That's for sure.
I was the one that I had to find that stuff out too soon. And then I was the one that when my cousins got old enough, I'm like, hey, you should watch Toxic Avenger.
Yes. Yeah. Witchboard was one that I always like ushered to people because I'm like, it's scary, but Tawny Katane is like naked.
Yep.
So like you
I
can
saw
get
that
a-
one way too young. Also.
Yeah, you can get away with like there's not like a ton of nudity, but like the nudity is worth it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's the thing, you know, all that stuff was intriguing. And I don't equate it to like cigarette marketing, you know, where like finally the government's like, you can't have cartoon characters, but like, you know, it's the same idea.
It's the candy cigarette.
You got ghoulies. Look at this little thing, you know, like all the like puppet horror stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't look, it's kind of scary, but like it's intriguing. As a kid, you're like, what? A little green guy crawl out of the toilet, that can't be bad, right? Like, what is this?
Yeah, like the willies and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
You know, they knew what they were doing, man. We always go back to that. Like, they're adult films, but they're marketing a little bit to the kids. They know, you know, it's like Freddy. Freddy's a child molesting murderer,
Right, but he's funny.
Yeah, so it's okay. So your kid can wear Freddy Krueger pajamas.
Yep.
Even though like the message is that he wants to diddle your kid.
So, you know, going back to when we were kids, the two most popular Halloween costumes. You could buy Freddy gloves at any dollar store.
Oh, yeah.
You know, medicine chest, you know, whatever. You know, you can go to a local pharmacy that had like knick-knack stuff. You can get a hockey mask or a knife-fingered glove.
Yeah, Freddy Yo-Yo. They had those
all that
yo-yos
stuff,
and stuff.
right?
Yeah.
And then, again, you know, not maybe directly, but let's talk about when Freddy puts on the Power Glove. Was your mom playing Nintendo? Did she know what a Power Glove was?
No.
Probably not, right?
Nope.
Like, it wasn't for them.
No, it was for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why Freddy's Dead is a Looney Tunes cartoon
Yep.
come to life. But that's a whole nother
Yeah, we can't
story.
go too far into that, but yeah.
Yeah. So how we wrap this up, since you're new to the actual podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done Gremlins, which was like our third or fourth episode. We always wrap this up with a little thing called the prop game.
It's time to play the game. The prop
So
So for this, you don't want to pick the mop, right? Like
Right, yeah.
Toxic Avengers mop, that's too
the mop
on the nose.
The mop and the tutu are off limits, so let me preface for the audience. This this is the prop game, and that means you got to pick a prop from the movie, but it can't be a well-known prop. So since we're covering Toxic Avenger, the tutu and the mop are off limits. Pick something weird, different, strange, off the beaten track. Let us know on the comments on the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Patreon. Find us on Discord, Facebook, wherever you find us, TikTok. Let us know your prop pick because it's important. Damn it. And again, since you're the guest, I'm going to let you go first. We might end up with the same thing, but it doesn't happen often, but it happens occasionally.
I'm going to go very random. I'm going to tie it back to my favorite kill.
Okay.
I'm going to take the mixing head from that Hamilton Beach malt shaker. So, yeah, in my display, somebody would see a malt mixer head sitting on the wall, and that's what I'm going to take. I'm going to take the piece of my favorite kill.
Nice. Can you use a malt mixer to make hot sauce?
Yeah.
Would it
I mean,
blend that? It wouldn't
yeah.
blend it up as well. You'd have to.
No, like modern day, like you could use like an emulsion blender.
Okay.
So you could use the same kind of thing. So you could use an emulsion blender probably to make a malt. You probably couldn't use a malt mixer to make a sauce.
Gotcha.
So
So when is the Toxic Avenger sauce coming out for old Snarls?
So my Verde sauce.
It's the that's the TapeHead sauce though. It's copyrighted.
Yeah, no. So that's the thing. Like the green sauce would be too on the nose, but yeah, that's already been claimed.
Yeah. Well, what if you did like a I don't know, because he makes a milkshake. So
Yeah.
could you make? I don't know that sweet and spicy, they don't go together.
Oh,
You
they
could
do
make,
really well.
Can you
Oh,
make
yeah.
Can you make some sort of a banana, because it's like a banana split that he's doing to that guy's,
Yeah.
some sort of banana
I've
pineapple.
So pineapple, I use a lot of like mango and pineapple in different stuff.
Okay.
Because the sweet's usually like the first flavor profile you pick up, and then you get the
Then the heat
sting.
afterward, yeah.
You don't want to just burn somebody's mouth right out of the gate. You know, you want them to get some flavor.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do like a sweet heat. I don't know. The fruit's got to be really specific. Now,
Because it's acidic, you know.
yeah,
So.
but like strawberries and habaneros go together really well.
Okay.
You could do something like that. I don't know about banana. I don't know what that would do.
because they
tried.
would get like, yeah, I don't know what banana.
Yeah, and like citrus fruits are really good, right? So like blood orange,
Yeah.
Your pineapple, mango, any of that stuff's really good. You can do kiwi. Dragon fruit doesn't have a lot of flavor, so it doesn't really work. I've tried a bunch of different things.
I was gonna say you better get to the drawing board and come
Yeah.
up with the old Toxic Avenger, and then we pitch it to Lloyd Kaufman,
Yeah.
and then you make
Uncle
$1 million
Lloyd.
fucking dollars off of Uncle Lloyd.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That he'll give me a signed copy of Toxic Avenger.
which is just as good. But I mean,
I would take that from Lloyd. Yeah.
Residual check though for hot sauce wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Uncle Lloyd, holler at your boy.
Yeah, I can make something for you.
For some sauce.
Yeah.
But okay, so we did not pick the same prop at all. My prop, because the scene is so weird, and we've brought it up a few times.
Yes.
I want the dead kid Polaroids.
Yeah.
That's such a weird thing that they do.
like get off on this lifestyle that like
Yeah,
their
we-
loser ass boyfriends are living.
We run around and we smash people or old ladies or whatever and then we get certain amount of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to have those Polaroids because first of all, I don't know how they get away with it for so long.
That's the whole thing. They're just like
They're loud.
showing evidence. Yeah, they just have it.
Yeah, and they like drive past and they like whip a shitty and then smoke this kid and they're like being loud the whole time. Then they park, get out, and they're like woohoo and taking pictures of this kid in the middle of a residential area.
So that scene's pretty rough though because they hit him and he's crawling. Like his legs don't work.
Yeah.
Right. So he's crawling and they're like he's still alive. Then they back over him and they take all these pictures. I'm like who isn't? It's dark in this neighborhood. That car's loud as shit. Like who does not know who these people are?
Yeah.
And it's not like they have like there's cars that are an everyday car, right? Like it's not like the Chevy Cavalier of its day, right?
Yeah.
It's got fucking flames. Like it's
Like,
super recognizable.
Yeah, circles around
Yeah.
like little kids with the Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
No.
It has all these like very unique markings on it, but nobody knows who did it.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, they have a terrible police force in Tromaville.
Right.
Well, they're all dirty cops.
Well, that's true. They don't care too much.
Yeah, they don't care about anything because they're busy poisoning reservoirs and making drug money and
they're busy.
everything else. Yeah, busy in the underworld. But I suppose on that note, we should probably get going because after all, there's a lot of movies out there and somebody's got to watch them. So why not us? Right?
Right.
Right.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Cut Podcast. There's a new episode every 2 weeks. Fun. You can find it on Spotify and all major podcast apps. Don't forget to let us know your prop pick. Every 2 weeks, there's a new episode. So rate us and subscribe to the Deep Cut Podcast. There's a new episode every 2 weeks. Fun, yeah. You can find it on Spotify and all major podcast apps. Don't forget to let us know your prop pick. Every 2 weeks, there's a new episode. So rate us and subscribe to the Deep Cut Pod, to the Deep Cut Pod. You can find it on Spotify and all major podcast apps. Don't forget to let us know your prop pick. Every 2 weeks, there's a new episode. So rate us and subscribe to the Deep Cut Pie. To the Deep Cut Podcast. To the Deep Cut Pod, to the Deep Cut Pod. To the Deep Cut Pod, to the Deep Cut Pod. To the Deep Cut Pod, to the Deep Cut Pod. To the Deep Cut 2 weeks, there's a new episode. So rate us and subscribe to the Deep Cut Pike. 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 To the Deep Cut Podcast. To the Deep Cut Pike.